Okay, friend, so I am, instead of just like recording my screen, I have my phone set up to try to record what I'm doing on the screen. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just opened up a file that I'm calling John 15:5, and I'll share it with you on my right way. I'll put Sarah M, just so you have access and editing for that. Okay, so yes, Blue Letter Bible. I go to Blue Letter Bible at the top, and I plug in John 15:5, and currently the NASB 95, I think, is the one we're looking, but I'll show you. We can tweak this later. So then it goes to the actual verse, and we go click on Tools, and that's where you start to see the word breakdown. So I just know from previous study, I wouldn't just do the I by itself, because it's the I am that is really so important. So ego, eimi, and again, you can listen to those words. So I would start with I am, and that phrase, which is important to know in Greek, is the ego, and I believe it's pronounced eimi. But if not, you can play it and listen to it. And this is, again, a little bit different, or you could do them each separately. So once I'm looking at it, and let's look at the word I under Strong's. So Strong's is somebody went through and looked at all the words and broke it down. And so when you see that little G in front of the number, which there is a little G in front of the number, that means it's in Greek, right? So we click on that. And then it tells us more about this word. It says how to pronounce it. It tells us it's a pronoun, primarily used first person. And then we can come down and it will start to get into, there's a spot here for Vine's expository, which we'll talk about him in a moment. Then it gives you the translation as Strong used it in the King James Bible. And then the outline, the biblical usage, it means I, me, or my. So this is how you can see how it's used. Now, under this Thayer's Greek Lexicon, where it says Strong's and it has the number, this is going to show you anytime that this particular Greek word is used, it will show you kind of like what verses it's used in. And so oftentimes a great way to kind of double, triple check that you're choosing the corrective I, me, my, or whatever for whatever word is to come through, and then you are looking here, you'll see that it says Matthew 3:14, John 10:17. So I'm looking to where it has John 15:5, because then I know I can find a more thorough, more specific use of that term. So let me come down and see if I see John 15:5. If I don't see it, that's okay, because we know that it's there. And I will show you another example for another word. Let's look. But this is kind of my process for scrolling through and looking. So it doesn't have 15:5 on here. So I'll often look here, and again, because for this one, there's really just the one definition. Sometimes it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you really want to make sure you're using the correct term that it's being, I guess, discussed. But then I come up also to Vine's. So Vine's is just a different person who studied, and it's his expository. And so it'll tell you kind of his thoughts on what it is, and more about the words. And let's see if he has in here. John 15:5, he does not. Okay. But that's typically what I do for every word. So that's for the word I. Then for the word eimi. I-me, sorry. So it shows you here, it says I-me, verb. You can also listen to it. And again, I'll come down here, and what does it mean? It means to be, exist, to happen, or to be present. And then I come down, click on the show all under Strong's. And then I kind of look through, and I'm looking for John 15:5. I see several Johns, but I don't see 15:5, but that's okay. I'm doing this real time. I figure if I send this to you and you look through it, and then later we can go through more specific like questions, but this shows you kind of the process that typically I go through when I'm going through the verses and the word study. All right, let's see. Keep going. Because sometimes you'll think a word means something, but when you scroll down and you see exactly the verse it was used, it might have a different kind of more specific meaning, and that's why we scroll down and look here. So it's just being super thorough and making sure that we are only giving, obviously, like the most accurate information that we have access to or that we've discovered. Let's look down here. It says John 5:18. So yeah, a lot of times it's just scrolling for it, finding. All right. Ooh, John 15:12. Nope. Just looking. Okay. So again, because some of these to be from some quarter come originate, it would like kind of change the meaning a little bit if you found it in a more specific term. But for this one, we're not doing that for this right now. So I'm going to go back up to, but this one, see how much there is. There's a lot. So I'm going to come back up to the top to where there's Vine's expository at the beginning and the top of this. And I'm going to click on the view entry. So again, he says it means to be. And then oftentimes too, I look under if they have anything specific related to the verse that I'm looking up, just to kind of get more information. And then for this phrase, I would actually, sometimes in Blue Letter Bible, the phrases like this are put together, but I would dig a little bit further into that statement and give them maybe a little bit more background than just these words. So then the next word would be vine, because the Greek word for vine is like ampelos. It doesn't really translate to anything in English, so I wouldn't include that unless it was like, sometimes you can see it's a root word for a word that we have in English, and it can kind of help us to expand, but for this doesn't mean vine to me at all. So I come down, and what does the vine mean? It means a vine. Again, I look at Strong's definition of it, of what it is, and then you can also go still back to Vines, and he will tell you just kind of like his input, that it is used to literally as well as figuratively. It speaks of Christ, but it also talks about some of the verses in which it talks about his enemies and being the vine of the earth and different things like that. So that's what Vines, between Vines and Strong, is really kind of where we get all our information. I am the vine, you are. Let's see if this has any kind of, so it's S-Y, but it's pronounced so, and it's just you. And again, sometimes I don't put that Greek because it wouldn't enhance my remembrance or application at all. It just means you. So that's kind of easy. You, the pronoun, the second person. So that means it's something that we should personalize. And let's look at the word the. I think this will be, this is something that we might not have on the sheet, but that it means this, that, these. And so if we look back at the verse, then it's saying that, I am the vine, you are the what? You are the what? You're the branches. So again, even for branches, the word is klema or klema. And now this might be interesting and it might help people remember. So klema is branches, and it means a tender or flexible branch. So maybe it helps you think like clay is bendable, and then maybe that makes you think of like leads you into like the potter's hands and things like that. So I might include the Greek word with the pronunciation just to help people kind of do more word association. It also means the shoot or branch of a vine sprout. So here it has that information in Strong's, and then vines again would tell you that a branch, it means, so vine also in here, he is showing you that it's actually like two words together. And up at the top, it'll show you if there's a root word to the Greek word. And so sometimes you can get like, obviously go down a rabbit's hole, but vine shows you here that it means that the half of the word clow means to break, and that, again, it denotes a tender, flexible branch. And so depending on like how you break it down or look, sometimes Vine will show you kind of like the breakdown of the word even further to give you kind of like further meaning. Like, yeah, we all know what a branch is. Okay, but did you know that it comes from the word like to break? Is that significant? Is it not? Like, maybe, I don't know. So you are the branches. And then it just, obviously, I would put that phrase, he who, but I wouldn't necessarily include the Greek in it. I would just put, and then when I come down, it's just kind of more or less repetitive. It's not giving me any substantial like aha moments or ooh things to focus on in this. Although it just says here, say German DRD DOS, so that's cool that I know. So abides. So this would be one that even if I didn't maybe find a word association because that word is so important to abide, maybe I would include the Greek here, also because it's the very root. So there's nothing that like this word can be broken down to further. And what does that mean? So here it says, to remain, to abide. So of all these ones, this one should tell us exactly what it means down here when we look at John's where it says show all. And we want to see exactly where is John 15:5 in terms of it. Does it mean to remain, to place, to in reference to time, condition? So let's see if we can find it here. Sorry. I'm going to read through. John 15:4. It better not make me a liar, because it usually, here's John 15:7. Man, this verse is trying to give me a hard time in the teaching. There's John 15:16. Okay, so let's look back up here. 15:9, make sure I'm not missing anything. 15:11, 15:7, 15:4. Good gracious, it's really. All right, let's see. John 15:4 again. Make sure I'm not missing. Okay, so in this instance, I would go back just to the Strong's definition, and that abide is a verb, right? So it's an action, and it means to stay, and that can be in a given place, a state, relation, or expectancy. And I think that's a cool word to remind people, especially when we're talking about hope, is an expectancy. Then it goes to abide, continue, dwell, endure. And then we can still go up here to Vine's expository, click on, and then see if he has anywhere, John 15:5, which, I mean, this thing is killing me today. We got 15:4. It's giving me like everything but 15:5, 15:10. For real. But it also gives you some words that are similar. Let me look quickly. Oh. Okay, let me pause this and I'll come back to you. Okay, friend, hi, part 2. Sorry. So, again, this is typically the process for each of the words. Let me go back. Abides in me. Now, this one is important, obviously, because, the me is capitalized. And look, we get that same word again for ego, which we had for I, right? So these are ones that I would definitely put the Greek next to it just so that we can see the repeating words that are in there. And then I think that's also interesting that just kind of the rest, I go through and see what the and I means in him. But that's how I guess I've done this. And again, down here it says from me, it goes back to ego, and then you can. And so that Greek word is like dyname, so like dynamite, like obviously it's not what it means, but it's kind of like a great word to remind people that they have the power, right? The power, dynamite, duname. So these are the kind of how I go through, but yes, I do not always include every word or meaning, but if I'm interested, then I click on that Strong's word, and then look for the uses of the verse there, always also looking back at the Vine's expository.